Welcome another Tuesday to the behind the scenes, what the heck's going on in the housing market. Glad you're joining me. We're sitting in the piano room talking housing market stuff. Specifically this week, we're going to talk about a viral post that kind of sent some shockwaves through the housing market, specifically about the DC area. The power of social media. The power of social media. It is, you know what? It's not losing strength, it's gaining strength. And this viral post that I'm going to show you proves that 110%. So we're going to show you the post. We're going to talk about it. I am, as always, going to go behind the headlines, give you my 2 cents and the data, because I've done some research so that you guys don't have to, and kind of show you what the real scoop is based on facts, not what I'm feeling or what the chaos is saying or the panic and all the things. So we're going to dig into that. Got a bunch of articles on that. I've got a little surprise at the end article that I stumbled on just a couple hours ago that I want to touch on. And but as always, I appreciate you being here. So if you want to jump in the chat, we got my friend Nicole from Minnesota already joining us. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for hopping on, as always. So as you're jumping in the chat, as you're jumping on the live stream, chime in, ask your questions, because if you're thinking about it, I can guarantee you somebody has the same question. I can guarantee it. So without further ado, the article in question is, alluded to in the thumbnail, which is this article that was posted on Instagram. I can't find it on Instagram anymore, but you can find it on X, if X is your thing. And this poster, this profile, Darth Powell. Now, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and this is not my kind of fan. This doesn't make me happy. This Darth Powell posted the wildest, you fill in the blank, is happening near Washington, D.C., here in Arlington, Virginia. Everything is being put in the market, and then he has this post. We've got this this picture of all of these, for listings, for sale signs and all the things. Everything, looks like, all hell's breaking loose in D.C. And it is on the heels of the DOGE announcements with all the federal worker layoffs. And the premise is that everybody's leaving town. And this Broke Agent Media, this is actually the account that featured it, and it says, the truth behind the viral X panic, the doomsday prophets on X are again forecasting the worst, and this time they're announcing an imminent crash for the DC housing market in particular. This is the Darth Powell account, is one of the most notorious for alarmist posts on the housing market, and according to one of the most recent tweets, DC is seeing a significant increase in inventory, presumably in response to recent layoffs by the new administration's Department of Government Efficiency. I'm going to dig into that because I'm not quite sure that that's exactly 100% on point, and maybe they're doing it for different reasons. But we've got hello, Mr. David Matney's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. So I want to dig into the news article that broke the story. I wouldn't say broke the story. That's not true. The one that caught my eye, the one that comes up at the top of the search, the Google News search. So this is how I found out about it. Is right out of NBC Washington. It says fake real estate post stokes fears about federal cuts impact on DC housing market. And this guy behind the play symbol, that's Lawrence Yun. Lawrence Yun is the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors. It says a viral social media post that appears to show hundreds of homes. I'm going to adjust this a little bit for you guys. See if I can get this a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. There you go. Get you so that you can see it. For those of you like me who have to squint at everything these days, It says a viral media post that appears to show hundreds of homes hitting the market in the DC area. Federal worker layoffs is bogus. That's a nice way of saying what I'm thinking. Real estate experts confirmed to News 4 the post shows dozens of new homes on the market in the areas of Arlington County and Falls Church, Virginia. It suggests that President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's slashing of the federal workforce is leading to a mass real estate sell-off and exodus from Virginia. Lawrence Yun, the chief economist of the National Association of Realtors, says the viral post is fake. He says right now we're not seeing any major increase in inventory or any plunging in home prices. Now, I know if you're a little bit of a skeptic, and you know what, you probably should be in this day and age, you're probably thinking, okay, well, you know what, you've got a chief economist of real estate, National Association of Realtors. I can't talk tonight. And a real estate agent doing a live stream saying it's bogus. You're prophesizing. You're telling us what I want to hear, and that's not the case. Because on this live stream, I'm a very pragmatic person. I'm a very data-driven person. Cautiously optimistic is what I like to say. So I actually have the numbers right out of the Metro DC MLS. Now I'm up in Massachusetts, but just to let you know, as a side note, in your area, your local MLS, most of them post county data, local data, town data, free to the public. If you Google your local MLS system, if you're interested in the data in your area, it's there. It's got a matter of you got to look for it. But anyways, Alicia Weimeyer, a real estate agent with Compass Realty, said the viral post is bogus, and that real estate professionals are scrambling to set the story straight. Some realtors have been posting because they're getting calls from clients saying, "What's going on? Is this true? Should I put my house on the market now?" And you know what? I would believe that. I believe that to be the case because people react to social media. That's the world that we're living in. 100%. Yeah, you know what? Sinister Spatula says stuff doesn't happen overnight. Usually, might not see it now, but give it 30 days. I'm going to get to that, actually, my friend, because I agree with you. It says housing inventory data for the first 2 weeks of February show minimal changes in most northern Virginia cities and counties when compared with the same time period last year. The largest increase in new home inventory listings was in Loudoun County, which saw 24% more compared to that 2-week period in 2024. It says in Loudoun, you are seeing that, but you have the new builds, the new construction, but you also have people who have been ordered to return to work. So they're looking at maybe we should come back in and be closer. So that brings up a very interesting point, because you may have folks that are moving from DC that are in that metro area, or maybe not, and they won't need to get close to the metro area. You wonder if it's going to offset each other. You have somebody that has been laid off. Okay, great. Maybe you want to go to where the next job is. And then you have those that have not been laid off that are remote and need to report to work. And those folks are going to be buying. So yes, you have more listings, but really the question is how many months supply of inventory? And I talk a lot about that, in these live streams about the month supply of inventory. How long would it take to sell everything on a given market? And if you have a high buyer demand, even if you have high listings coming on, it cancels each other out. You don't have sustainability in that case. And all that does is if you have increase in listings, but you've got this backlog of buyers, you're not going to see on all of a sudden oversupply of inventory. Until that oversupply, that backlog of demand is satisfied, it's going to look like either a balanced or less than balanced market. So something to consider. The article goes on to say that Lawrence Yun, said that the Beltway bubble Beltway bubble hasn't popped and likely won't anytime soon because direct federal government employees make up just 9% of the region's workforce. So that's another interesting fact is that, just because you have all these government employees, they're not living in a commune and and they're not taking up, 90% of the housing, in that area. Matter of fact, actually, I take the words right out of my mouth. 90% work in the private sector. So there you go. Many are government contract related, but nonetheless give the higher educated workforce in the DC region. Many companies want to tap the workforce. Bottom line, the experts say homeowners shouldn't panic sell. You know what? I would say 110%. 110%. You should never panic sell. You should never panic sell. There's always going to be changes in a market. There's going to be companies that come in. There's going to be companies that go out. There's going to be layoffs. There's going to be life changes. There's going to be shifts in your family dynamics, or maybe you get sick or whatever. There's a million different reasons. Selling your home is not something you should do overnight. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. Buying the cheesecake down at the local bakery, that's a panic thing. That's oh my God, I'm kind of depressed, or I need my sugar, whatever. I'm gonna go down and buy the cheesecake, not even think about it. You don't just do that with this house. Just pick up and say, oh my gosh, man. No, you got to get the data. You got to plan. You got a timeline. And the reality of it is that your budget and your home, that doesn't go underwater overnight. It doesn't go underwater overnight. If you're in a situation where you live in an area, this is a very affluent area, by the way. DC is a very affluent area. And I'm going to show you the data to kind of support that in terms of the average sale price and so forth. But those folks, even if they do get laid off, they're not going to panic sell, and nor should they. Susan says, any updates on Michigan? I do not have any updates on Michigan. Let's see. Let me check one article here that I don't know. You know what? Michigan has not come up on my radar. Has not, but I definitely can put it on the list for you. If we have time, I'll do a quick Google search, give you my thoughts on it. Now, compare and contrast. What I like to do, I like to hear what different people say about a certain topic. So as I'm doing my research on this article, I came up with an article by Fortune magazine. Okay, so Fortune covered this on February 21st, which is what Friday, and that viral post was last week, early last week. So it says the housing market DC stable for now, contrary to social media posts tying sales to Trump policies. There you go, sinister spatula. For now is the operative words. It says it's not the best of times, it's not the worst of times. That's how one might describe the Washington DC housing market right now. And it says, with apologies to Charles Dickens for the spin on the most famous openings, despite social media rumors about a spike in home sales in response to President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's Doge team dramatically cutting the federal workforce, hard numbers show a relatively stable market in the area. Same thing with Lawrence Yun. He's being quoted again, no panic, shown in the MLS data. And it says that, Yun adds that he's observed expected winter pricing reductions, and that's overall listings in February seem to be on par with last year. So here's the thing about this time of year. We are on the beginning upswing of what is typically the spring market. Typically, I say, because last 4 years have been nothing but typical. Nada. Last year in particular, typically the market, the unofficial start to the housing market, spring housing market, is February 9th. And typically that's when you start seeing listings start to trickle on. People start thinking about what they're going to do in the spring. Holidays are past, the craziness towards the end of the year is past. Now they can start moving forward and doing what they want to do for the year, and you start to see things pick up. Now, last year that didn't happen. Didn't happen for a lot of reasons, multiple reasons. One of the big reasons being the persistent interest rates, kind of keeping a downward pressure on housing affordability. When the interest rates went through the roof, everyone that dramatically altered, between the interest rates going up and then the home prices continually not going up. They were not suppressed. So the combination of those two things, people were like, I don't think so. We're going to sit tight for now, unless you could come into the right deal at the right time. And the spring market never happened. It was a very, very, very solemn spring market. Now, fast forward to 2025, and things are a little different. We're post-election, okay? And depending on what your outlook is, a lot of people feel a little bit more optimistic. Some are neutral, some are not. But at least you know what you're dealing with more or less right now for the time being. Changes are happening, whether you like it or not. Change is never fun. No matter what, change is never fun. But the interest rates being where they're at, they've kind of suppressed a little bit. They've come down to they've been consistently under 7%. People are getting used to it. So now we're seeing the beginning of a typical spring market, which always starts to ramp up. So to say that a housing market in any area of the country is all of a sudden, oh my gosh, the listings are going up, sound the panic alarm, sound the mayday, the housing markets, oh, here comes the listings. What next thing there's going to be for sale signs everywhere. The housing market's going, prices are going to plummet. No, not necessarily. Maybe in some areas. Real estate is local. Absolutely 100%. Real estate is local, and some areas are going to be hit harder than others and have been throughout history. But in particular, the last 5 years. But a lot of what we're seeing, when we're talking about DC, we can't forget that. We can't forget that there's always a dip in the winter and there's always an uplift in the spring. 100%. Natalia, thanks for joining. Natalia says, my brother in law business in Fairfax, Virginia, relies on contracts from government agencies. He does not have any projects for over 2 months and have a substantial mortgage on $1 million house. Ouch. I think what we're going to see, and sometimes, we build our lives around, we stretch our budgets and all the things based on what we predict. And I think society has nothing to do with your brother-in-law whatsoever. But I think, I'm guilty to a certain degree with this as well. We've become very stretched in terms of across, getting off topic a little bit, but it's my show. I can do what I want. It's my show. But, the one thing I will say, I'm all for progress. I'm all for technology. I love, I'm always looking for ways to make things better, make things more efficient. Learning. I love to learn. I love to learn, do new things, all the stuff. But 50 years ago, society was a better saver. They had emergency funds. They could weather the storm typically better than now. Now things are way more expensive. Relative to wages. There's no denying that. But sometimes when these things happen, it happens for a good reason. I'll be honest, but, confession time. In this market, I'm in this business, gosh, almost 29 years, guys. June 20, I can't even believe that. I got my real estate license when I was 10 years old, by the way, just in case you're trying to do the math. But anyhow, no, that's not true. But when the market crashed in 2008, here in Massachusetts, we felt it right around 2007. We were stretched too thin, and we got our bumps and bruises, and we got our scars to prove it, and all the things. My financial picture is way different now because of the scars that I had from then. And I'm definitely a different spender, much different spender. And sometimes doesn't matter if you have $1 million house, $500,000 house, $250,000 house, doesn't matter. Everybody goes, sometimes people need to feel that, to say, okay, well, maybe we need to pull back because sometimes this stuff happens. I mean, your brother-in-law, I tell you, is, small business relies on, month-to-month income, so on and so forth. There's a lot of self-employed individuals in this country, myself included, that there's no guarantee month to month. Zero guarantee. And I am divorced with 2 kids, and even though one's graduating high school in the fall, but you learn to be careful. You learn to give yourself a little bit of little wiggle room. Spinach Spatula says, I felt like the market was going to keep going up, so I somewhat panic bought. I don't know that, though. I mean, you've been on this live stream a lot, and kind of going through the process, and I think you probably did a lot of thinking on it. It is impossible to determine. I don't care what you say. I don't care what the crash bros say. I don't care what the optimists say. You cannot predict what's going to happen for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. Nobody can. And to sit there and say, well, I'm going to wait until the market peaks and then buy, good luck with that. Because it is impossible. I mean, this is why Wall Street goes haywire with things, because they react, and sometimes they react incorrectly. The most important thing, Sinister Spatula, the most important thing is that you got into something that you can afford. You got into something that you can build equity in. I know you're doing a lot of work to your house and all the things. A home is something that is not like a car. It's not a loaf of bread. It's not a grocery item. It's not a cell phone, computer, all the things. I'm going on a little rant here, a little TED talk. Forgive me, but it's something that you hold on to. It's your home. It's not an investment. It's something you hold on to. And speaking from experience, I've been in my home for 25 years. You can do the math. It's easy math, super easy math. Bought it in 2020. There's been a lot of market changes since 2020. The market has gone up. Market's gone down. Market's gone back up, and it's kind of hovering. But I'm still in my home, and I'm still on a 30-year mortgage, and I'm still you weather it, and you go along. But it's not an investment property, Bravo, Sinister Spatula, by the way. I know you had a hard time finding a place and everything else, and you didn't give up. Mr. Clark's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. So he says, this article goes on to say, what the Washington, D.C. housing market is like right now. And I kind of wanted to hit on this before I get into some of the data from the DC MLS to kind of just back up these statements. It says, Fortune asked Russell Brazil, an agent with the RLAH at Properties and president-elect of the Greater Capital Area Association of Realtors, GCAAR. All these, what are they called? Acronyms? No, is that what it's called? The first letter of every word. Whether he noticed big changes in home sale activity either post-inauguration or following the layoffs of federal employees. He says there has been no notable change in expected market conditions. February 14th traditionally is the start of the spring selling season. Okay, dude, check with the NAR. I guess it's February 9th, not the 14th. I digress. Every year with the spring selling season, we see an uptick in available inventory and corresponding increase in buyer demand. That's what I was talking about earlier. Every time this year, even last year being kind of like a unicorn, kind of, it was, odd. But even the years before, it was different. It was definitely a different market, but there was still an uptick after the winter. There always is. Brazil added that the housing market remains hot in most of the metro areas. It's in the Northeast. It's in the Northeast and it's in an affluent area. It says with low inventory and for sale properties often receiving multiple offers. He also observed that nearly, this is kind of what the other article says, 90% of the workforce in DC is made up of workers who are not federal employees. So even the political environment as it is, he does not anticipate a huge spike in homesteads. It says, still, there's enough chatter about this topic. And it says, I want to provide accurate information. To counteract the social media rumors. He says recent changes to the federal workforce have understandably sparked concerns about how these changes will affect our region, and some individuals are capitalizing on that uncertainty by distributing information that is not factually accurate. Really? I thought all social media was accurate. I'm stunned. I thought everything on social media and the news was true and is supposed to be true. You mean they're lying to us? I'm stunned. Guys, I'm stunned. Of course it is. This is why you can't believe everything that you read. Don't believe everything I say. Go research it. Go research it for yourself. Find the data. I don't think you should listen to any one person. Absolutely not. It says January 2025 saw 2,029.40 active listings, 1,428 new listings, and 939 closed sales in the area represented by Cigar. The greater, what was it? The greater, it's the DC market, federal, their Association of Realtors. I just think it's funny. This reflects a market roughly in line with 5-year average numbers for January activity through active listings, though active listings were slightly higher than the 5-year average, so on and so forth. So here is the chart, that they were talking about, or, just kind of show you like January 23, 24, 25. And yes, you're talking, January, which is a fair comparison. Okay. The market's starting to ramp up, and we've got new listings, active listings, closed listings. Now this is in January, and this market release, this viral post was posted in February. Okay, just a couple weeks ago, but still, this is normal. This is actually absolutely normal. And the reason I would say, without knowing the DC market intimately, maybe because I'm in Massachusetts, but that decline in active listing, new listings, active listings, and then closed sales, actually get an incline in closed sales, reflects a slight rebound of the market this year versus last year. And you can kind of see, like, it's very subtle for that market. It's not that same way in this rest of the country, but for that market. And then it goes on to say that, like I was talking about earlier, rumors may reflect a misunderstanding of seasonality. The seasonality of this is you can't ignore it. The fact that, you're, again, everyone, no matter where you are in the country, if you are thinking about buying a house, the inventory typically starts to ramp up now. You will probably see more listings now. I have had many more calls this year than I did last year this time for folks that are ready to move forward. And I put a house on the market last week, and we agreed, price and presentation. You've got to price it right. Doesn't matter how the market is. You're going to price it right and present it as best it possibly can. Put your best foot forward. And we'll get under contract in 4 days. Does that mean, you're in Massachusetts? Not necessarily. Now, there's certain markets that are going to struggle a little bit more than others, for sure. But, is that an automatic assumption that I can put any price on it? No, absolutely not. Because there are properties that went on the market, 2 properties that went on the market the same day, and those are still sitting. Let's see, Natalia, what you got there? This is Jen. What is your opinion on selling through Redfin? 1.5% seller commission is very tempting, but I have my next door neighbor house was on the market for 6 months through Redfin. So I'm going to be very pragmatic here. I am, not going to, I'm not going to give you my biased opinion on this, right? So what I'm going to say is very across the board, and not because, I'm with Remax. That doesn't make a difference, honestly. It's up to the agent. However, the thing that I would be cautious about is that Redfin has a different business model. It just is. When you take a traditional, and I'll give you a little backstory, and trust me, this does mean this is important for you to know because it does kind of answer your question. When you take a typical real estate agent that's in a typical firm, classic firm, each of those agents are 1099. They are all running their own business. They are all responsible for their own financials, education, so on and so forth. This is the reason why they're like, I talk about the 80% agent versus the 20% agent. Now, 80%, my opinion, 80% of the agents, maybe more, are not worth what you're paying them for commission. Why? Because they are not taking control of their business. They are not seeking education. They're not doing the things they need to do to better themselves, provide better service, which means spending money and investing in your business. It means, aligning yourself maybe with an office that has a common goal of providing like way above and beyond what the typical agent will provide, which is sticking a sign in the ground and, okay, let's price it and hope it sells and all the things. That is something that is very individual to the agent. Every office, I don't care who you work for, every office is going to have an 80% agent. It's just the way it is. It's human nature. We're all left to our own devices, just like you have people that are self-employed. You've got plumbers. I bet you $100. You got plumbers in town that are great and plumbers in town that aren't. Because the plumbers in town, they just gifted? They're gifted plumbings. They were born a gifted plumber? No. They invested in themselves. They invested in education. They invested in their business. And the plumbers that are not great don't. And it's, I think it's a case of they're not interested in it. Sometimes in the real estate industry, of course, it's going to be they don't care. They don't give a crap, about you and your well-being and all. They just want the money. It's easy money, right? That's what they think. It is far from it, but they think it is, and they can rope in some people and get away with it for a short period of time. But a lot of people a lot of them just don't know what to do. Okay. So what does that have to do with Redfin? Well, the business model with Redfin and a lot of these online companies are not, a lot of them are, they're typically still 1099, but because they have that website that they're capturing leads, you're a lead. I hate the word lead. They're spoon feeding them the business. This is my opinion. They're spoon feeding them the business. So in other words, I have my book of business. I have my clients that I have nurtured over years and years, staying in touch, counseling them, maybe telling them, step back for a year. Don't sell. It's not the right time for you, Susie. Why don't you wait until things pass? That takes time, takes money, takes energy. It takes caring. That's why 95% of my business is repeat and referral. But when you have things spoon fed to you, and they're coming off that website, it's number one. It's the reason why you're only paying 1.5%. You do get what you pay for. I hate to say it. I'm sorry to tell you, but you do get what you pay for. When it comes to that, now, Jen, you just said there's 80% agents charging, standard commission. You better believe it. You better believe it. However, you have two different pools to choose from. And I'm not saying that there are not good agents in Redfin. I think it's going to be a lot harder to find them, because the reality of it is that, can you get a Mercedes for the cost of a Ford? No. No. You just can't. And I find it, I don't know how successful you'll be. So that's a long answer, and I apologize for the, you're probably watching and saying, Jen, get to the point. Interview them. That's all I can tell you. Interview. Do the thing that I preach on this channel and interview 3 agents. Interview the agent from Redfin, and then interview an agent from a mainstream company. Get a referral. All the things like, let me connect you to one of my people and stack it up. And if you don't use them, fine. If the Redfin is just as good as the one that I refer you, then score. Good for you. But at least it gives you something to compare it to. So I hope that was helpful. Sorry, I get really passionate about that stuff. What's Clark's got to say? Clark says, at one point, Redfin agents were getting paid an hourly fee. Yes. Yeah, and I don't know, and full disclosure, I've never worked for Redfin. I don't examine other business models, other real estate business models. So I absolutely do not know all the intricacies of the Redfin plan. All I can tell you is it's not the same as a traditional real estate office. At one point, Redfin agents were getting paid an hourly fee outside of their commission, and that is why they were able to offer reasonable commission splits to clients. Not sure if they still do that. Well, the thing of it is, we got to pay our bills. Like, you can't be a real estate agent and be like, oh, I'm only going to pay half my mortgage because I only got paid half the commission. I'm only going to pay half the car payment. I'm going to eat half as much. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat half as much because I'm only making half as much. No. That's also why I think there's a big turnover in those types of companies too, because people come in, think it's easy money, and then out they go. All right. Good question, though, Natalia. Thank you for asking that. I wanted to get into some data. Because if you guys have been here before, you know how I like the data. I like to see, like, okay, great, you're making these statements, but show me the money, show me the proof. So this is right from Bright MLS, is the DC metro and surrounding areas. They've got you can see there's a whole bunch of them. Alexandria, it's the Maryland, Virginia, all the different, I don't know all the different counties, not my area, but this is comparing 2024. This is just a quick overview. I'm going to get a little deeper in a second. 2024 versus 2025 for the first half of February. Okay, so the first half, last 2 weeks, what has been the change? And according to MLS, now MLS is, just to be clear, to know, so we know all the facts, this is not necessarily 100% accountable for every listing, because if you did not work with a real estate agent, that's not going to be reflected here. But I would say it's safe to say the majority of folks are using some sort, even if you are going for sale by owner, you are likely going to pay to get access to the reach of an MLS. You're going to pay some sort of discounted fee to get your listing into MLS. So it's a good place to start. In terms of an overall picture, but it's Washington DC, the greater DC regional area, year over year, the greater DC region, no change, virtually no change. And Washington DC, 7% increase. Again, last year it was a total different story. Now, I'm going to switch gears because I have the week ending. Yeah, this is the stuff. Now we're going to getting into the sauce, folks. Now, this is the Bright MLS Greater DC area. Now, like I mentioned earlier to you guys, wherever you are, Susan had asked about Michigan. Okay, you can get data in Michigan. You can get local data. You need to just do a little Google. It takes time. You can do a little Googling, or you can wait for me to do it for you. I'm happy to do that. But if you need it right away, you can get access to this stuff. If you go to your local MLS website, there is, of course, you're not going to have access to everything. But in terms of the reports, they publish it. So this is, the greater DC area, the weekly housing market. So this is as of yesterday. today? Yeah, Monday, February 24th. And this is what's happening. So, week ending. So this is the actual, so, this is the data I was looking for, because this really shows like what is happening from that viral article. Is it truly impacting the market like they say it, like it is? And is it impacting the market at all at this point? And, the week ending February 23rd, the greater DC region, it looks like, it says the current week compared to a year ago and compared to a week ago. So a year ago, the new listings 12.9%, compared to a week ago, 20.1%. Again, is that up from last year? Yes. Was last year an entirely different market? Yes. We had a non-existent spring market. Last year. So everybody's numbers is going to be up for the most part, like this. Our market in Massachusetts is not these numbers specifically, but we are absolutely up over where we were last year. The median list price, this was actually a little lower than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be higher than this. But of course, this is the greater DC region, not the metro, DC metro. 650,000, which is, compared to a year ago, 1.2%. Compared to a week ago, 0. So this is what we're expecting to happen. And I have actually, Zillow published an article this week saying that they actually revised their housing value appreciation expectations for 2025. And they are now saying it's going to be flatter than what they thought. So, I've done multiple live streams, talking about what the predictions are for 2025 and how they were actually they were a little bit conservative, but still, markedly better than last year. Now they're saying maybe not at all. Not worse, but not significantly better either. Which everything that's going on with the changes in our, the government changes and all the things, there's a lot of factors. That doesn't surprise me. It says the number of actives with price drops has increased 0.8%, and new pending contracts, it says compared to a year ago, down 7.3, compared to a week ago, up 1.1. Again, seasonality. I think that's something that can't be overlooked. I'm curious to know if anybody watching this is in the DC market that would like to pop in and jump in the chat and tell me what you're seeing. It says the prices are starting to soften in the DC market during the week ending February 23rd. The median asking price for new listings was 1.2% higher than a year ago and was unchanged from the week prior. Affordability has been a major constraint in the Washington, D.C. area housing market, which could be one of the reasons list prices are rising more slowly than in other parts of the Mid-Atlantic. During the last week, 7.5% of active listings in the region had a price reduction slightly higher than the share with a price drop in the bright MLS region overall. So, it's interesting to see. The data, and there was I actually have I've got the actual metro DC. So that was the region. That was the greater DC region. Now I want to dig into the metro. Real quick, I'll check the chat here. Ross Life says, isn't Redfin high on the fees as well? Well, here's the thing. When you do your research, and this goes for any real estate company, you need to look at the contract thoroughly. If an agent says to you, don't worry about it, it's just like every other contract. It's just, I'll do my thing and you agree to let me sell it and blah, 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 just sign here. You want to take it, you want to have the time to read through it thoroughly and see if there are any hidden fees, any administrative fees. You know, our office started charging full disclosure, my office started charging administrative fee a couple years ago. Things started getting tight. I absorbed the fee. I don't mind saying that on this live stream. I absorb the fee. It's like $350. I absorb it, take it out of my commission. I don't feel right charging my folks that extra. I put it in the listing. I put it in the listing contract. Got to have it in writing. But that being said, I don't know Ross Life if what the fees are. Again, I don't know the Redfin service model in depth, but definitely that's something, because sometimes it's just like mortgages. You have a 7.4% or 6% interest rate, or maybe they advertise a 5.75 to reel you in, and then you find out that they're charging you administrative fees and points and all the things. And that's why I always say, look at the APR, not the rate. Look at the APR. The APR will tell you what your rate is with the rate and the cost of the mortgage combined over the course of 30 years or 15 years, whatever the mortgage is. So it'll tell you what you're actually paying for the mortgage, what your actual payment is, what it's actually costing you. Because it's a not a bait and switch, but it can be misleading because they can hide those fees in there. So look at the APR, and I would say that Ross Life, that's the same. You got to do the same thing, when you're interviewing agents. 100%. All right, I'm going to dig in to. So this is, again, I'm not a member of the MLS there. This is all on their website, all free information. This is the weekly market report this is last week, 16th to the 22nd, for the metro area. And it kind of tells you getting into the nitty gritty, what is actually happening there in this past week. And just to comment on Sinister Spatula, you had said not yet. And I agree. The thing that I would say before I get into actually that was the thing I wanted to talk about real quick, is just like I said, the panic selling, when you had mentioned Sinister Spatula, you had said, maybe you panic bought. The folks, when it comes to panic selling, that's not, it's not going to be a common occurrence. Even if you had, a significant number of people that gets laid off, they're not going to turn around the next day and put their house on the market. It could be months and months. Why? Because we're in an environment right now, as it pertains to what's happening in DC, what's happening with Doge, okay, what's happening with the new administration, it's in a state of flux. They are coming in with a hatchet instead of a scalpel, and they're making changes, whether we like it or not, and maybe some will be good, maybe some won't. We won't know. Time will tell. But the thing is they're coming in and they're making these changes. Not all of the changes are going to stick. We've already seen that. We've seen that on multiple occasions. They, the tariffs, and then then they pause it and all the things, and TikTok, and then it comes back, and now you can download it from Apple. I made the mistake of deleting it from my phone. And then I tried when they turned it back on. I went, oh, I couldn't use it until Apple said, yeah, you can download it again. But anyways, it's going to take time. And we may not see, if there is a fallout, we may not see it until, 5-6 months from now. And then at that point, then we got to look at, okay, so is this actually related? And this is where it's going to be hard to disseminate, to really know, from the data perspective. If the data says, 100 houses sold in this neighborhood, well, how many of those people sold because of their job? And how many sold because they just didn't want to be in that area anymore? They got laid off. Or maybe the baby boomers, they finally said, we're done. Or maybe they want to be near their kids. Or maybe the kids are like, I want to be in Utah instead. Whoever the heck knows, right? It's hard to tell. It's hard to know exactly how to, dissect and know why, out of that inventory, the reason for people selling. But I agree that it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And, and especially when you have affluent areas, with the exception, like, Natalia's, your brother-in-law, and having his law business in Fairfax, and relying on government contracts, and he hasn't had any projects for 2 months, you hope that they have some reserves. You hope that they have a little bit of padding, but the reality of it is maybe they sell it and get in, they buy a smaller house, stay in the area, but they buy a smaller house. So does that mean that they're panic selling and the market's going tanking? No, they're downsizing. They're downsizing to get a just better handle on their finances. So I think it's going to take, if it's going to happen, it's going to take time, and that is important. It's like, oh, of course, that makes sense, but oftentimes that's the reason why this post went viral is people forget that. People forget that you're doom scrolling at 2 a.m. Guilty. Of course, I can thank menopause for that, but nonetheless, you look at this and it's just surface value, and whether you're doing that or the crash bros or whatnot, it's sensationalism. But anyways, getting into the data. If we look at what's actually happening in the DC market, and what I like about this data, this actually shows not just the new listings, but like how many showings, how much activity, which tells us how many buyers are out there. What is the median time to contract? In other words, from the time that it goes on the market, how quickly is it going under contract? How many new listings? What's the median price? The percentage of active listings with price decreases. In other words, what kind of price changes? Are they staying on the market and coming on maybe overpriced, or maybe the market's adjusting, so they have to adjust the listings? And then here's an interesting canceled listings. So, all the craziness has been talking about listings coming on the market. Look how many listings have been canceled. It's up, compared to a year ago, 64.5%. And from a week ago, 14.6%. If people are panic selling, why is that number going up? Why is that number going up? If people are panic selling and need to get out of DC, why are they canceling their listing? Now, they could be canceling to get to a better agent, possibly. A lot of them just say, you know what, we're going to sit tight. We're going to sit tight and wait things out because we don't know what's going on. But it's very interesting. We look at number of showings, and of course, this is all going to be relative to the number of listings. We're at a serious deficiency, in the Northeast here. Weekly purchase contracts lower for sure. You can't sell what you don't have. The weekly median time to contract. This is actually, look at this curve. This is the median time to contract. How long does it take to get a house under contract? This tells me that buyers are out there. This tells me that properties are going on the market and they're going under contract faster than the week before and the week before and the week before, considerably. Why? Because the market starts to ramp up. And then you can see this is not, and this is year over year over year, regardless of how crazy the market is, it goes into the spring market, and then we come out of the spring market. And all these little dips, you've got these little hiccups, as we get into the fall, and then they go gradually up. Why? Because it's the fall. Right when you hit November 1st, it's tough. That's the hardest time of the year to sell your house. The most challenging, absolutely most challenging. Weekly new listings. It's not far off from years prior. Median price. It's actually the price going up. Weekly active listings, so on and so forth. So, all this information is on, like I said, it's on It's on the DCMLS. It's on the DCMLS. I'll check the chat here. Natalia says, what is the criteria you choose photographer for listings? What is the criteria you choose for photographer listings? Shall I address the concern if I do not like the house pictures agent's photographer took? So, I guess the question you're asking, like, if, in terms of like figuring out what you should choose and what is the right picture to choose to feature for your listing. Honestly, a good agent should be able to answer that question and give you a good reason to know. My suggestion would be to look at the agent's previous listings. Homes.com is one of the sites that I use when somebody reaches out to me to get a referral for an agent, and say I don't have a particular agent in that specific, metro, and I need to find one. So I have a database of high performing agents, relational agents, and so forth that I pull from. But I want to vet them out. So how do I vet them out? I go to multiple sites because I want to know. I want to know what kind of person they are. I go on Facebook. I want to know how much production they've done. I want to know how they represent clients. Homes.com, you can actually pull up the agent and see what they've sold in the last year, the last 3 years, last year, 1, 3, and 5, I think it is. And if you're interviewing a listing agent, you can look at the last year, for example, and it doesn't necessarily mean, I heard somewhere an agent say, oh, you got to sell like 30 houses a year. You have to sell 50 houses a year. That's just not true. That is not true. I do not sell 50 houses. I'm a single agent. I'm a solo agent. I do not have a team. And my business model is based on providing what my bandwidth is and what I can, what the client base is that I can handle. And because I don't have a team and I'm not farming them out, I have a certain, the production is going to be different. That's okay with me. I don't want to get into a situation where it's next, a meat counter. Take a number. So I don't know that I'd necessarily, and you look at my numbers not great last year. And I had Massachusetts, it was tough last year. One of the worst years in 20 years last year. But you can certainly go on and see what type of photography I take. And that's what I would suggest that you do. But if you don't have, if you have specific questions about their photographs, then I would ask the agent and be like, hey, why didn't you take this? And that agent should be able to tell you, well, the reason I didn't do that is because that is not a selling point for a buyer or whatnot. But if I'm being perfectly honest, my clients I don't get pushback on my photographs. I don't. And I do all my own. I do my own photography, my own drone, my own 360 tour, my own floor. I do, just because I'm a geek and I love doing all that stuff. And I'm a serious perfectionist, but I'm not normal that way. Most agents hire because they're just not interested. They don't want to take the time to do it. And that's totally fine. You got to find out where your strengths are. But I hope that answers that question for you. If not, let me know. Sinister Dispatcher says, I'd say winter is a great time to be a buyer unless, yes. So I'm so glad you said that because, as I've said before, like the right time to buy is the right time for you to buy, right? So you got to make sure your finances and all the check boxes. But if you're ready to go and you're like, oh, it's November, December, and I'm 100% ready, but I don't know if I should. No, you should keep looking because you're absolutely right. There's less competition from buyers, and the sellers that put their houses on the market during the off season, those are serious sellers. The ones that are like, oh, let's see what they can get. Let's just put it on the market because the market's hot, and we'll see. And if it doesn't sell, that's okay. We'll just take it off and try again next year or whatever. You're not going to get that in the winter. You're not. So there's less to choose from but you only need one house. You're only buying one house. Why do you need 50 to choose from? If you're super clear on what it is that you're looking for and you're working with an agent to help you understand, ask you questions and give you advice and guidance and, put some thoughts in your mind to get you thinking about what's important to you in a house. The fact of the matter is, most buyers do their first viewing online. They do most of their viewing. Their first viewing is online. When they go and look at a house, second viewing is in person, is a second showing. So I agree with you, Sinister Spatula. Natalia says, I'm talking about the quality. I see something. Okay, yes. Yeah, you definitely want to do a little bit of homework on previous listings on that agent, because low quality pictures is not, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I've talked to folks that have come to me for help, and what do I do? And I look at their pictures and they're just terrible. There are terrible professional photographers. This is why I do my own photos, because I've gone through several of them, and I finally just said, you know what? I can't do this. I'm taking my own. I take them. I have them. I do have them edited by a professional company. Okay. I use HDR technology, do like 7 photos, different exposures and all the things, basically so that you can, the windows aren't washed out. Everything's in focus. Everything's lit well, all that stuff. There are some photographers that buy a DSLR camera and a light and charge a good price, and now they're professionals and they stink. So you have a right to expect good quality pictures. And I would absolutely ask your agent point blank, let me see what you've recently done, and are you using the same photographer that you used for those listings? And if you're not happy, then maybe use a different listing agent. That maybe that because I don't know. If a listing agent is okay with subpar pictures, that's like one of the most important things you can do. That's one of the most important things you can do. Okay, this is a great point. Sinister Spatula says a lot of the pictures are fake now. All AI staging with so many times the pics do not reflect reality. Yeah, so holy cow, there are so many altered pictures. Now, I will tell you that if I am marketing an empty house, I will have a set of empty rooms and a set of staged rooms so that folks can see how furniture might be arranged or how furniture can fit in a given room. It is hard, especially if you're looking online, to gauge dimension, okay, when you see an empty room. You look at an empty room, you go, will that fit a queen-size bed? Will that fit a sofa? Will that fit a love seat? It looks big enough, and then you get to the house, and it's like, oh, that's only good enough for a love seat. At least the virtual staging, however, it needs to be disclosed. And I put right in my remarks, some pictures are virtually staged. The thing that is inexcusable, though, and what you're probably talking about is when, and this drives me up a flippin' wall, is when you have a house, especially this time of year, and the grass is brown, in the picture it's nice and green. Beautiful. It's beautiful. Magic. It's magic, right? Or the floor is stained, and the picture looks perfect. Okay? I tell my editor that does my edit, do not touch the exterior grass. We're not doing phony. Make it bright, make it look in its best possible light, but keep it real. Keep it real. There's no better way to not sell a house. But yeah, it's a hard thing. There's going to be so many different, when it comes to AI, there's going to be a lot of changes coming down the pipe, I think, in the years ahead about, disclosures on AI and what can and can't be done and what shouldn't be done, what people need to know about. Yep. So yes, 100%. It's AI pictures in Photoshop. Photoshop's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing, Clark, if you use it properly. Properly. Like I said, I use HDR technology, which takes 7 pictures at different exposures and then melds them together. That's not That's not lying. That's just putting the picture in its best possible light, the room in the best possible light. I'm not changing furniture. I'm not covering any warts. I'm not doing anything except for making, try to get it as close to the human eye as possible is basically the goal. Oh, we got Katie in New Hampshire. Hello there, Northeaster. Northeaster. Northeaster? Good to see you. Somebody in my own time zone. Well, Clark's in my own time zone. Anyhow, I wanted to just quickly, just for funsy, I came across this article that I want to share with you guys about. I haven't heard this since honestly, it's over 10 years. I have not heard about zombie foreclosures. Now, I am not talking about Halloween or The Walking Dead or, some fiction, made up thing. This is a real deal. There's this thing called zombie foreclosures, and there are 5 states. This is as of Friday. And this, just to be clear, they're not talking about foreclosures across the country. There's all kinds of crash bro stuff and all the things, people, foreclosures are coming. No, certain pockets, which are in these 5 states. And you're going to see why in a second. So it says, this is from Realtor.com. This says zombie foreclosures are popping up across the U.S. as homeowners struggle to make monthly mortgage payments, with rates still hovering close to 7%. There are at least 1.4 million vacant residential properties across the country. This is according to ATOM Atom Data Solutions, a curator of land, property, and real estate analytics. They represent 1 in 76 homes across the nation, and the number is up slightly from a year ago. Slightly. It says at least 212,268 homes are in the process of foreclosure just in the first quarter of this year. Meanwhile, among pre-foreclosure properties, 7,904 units sit vacant as zombie foreclosures. Okay, what the heck is a zombie foreclosure, you might ask? A zombie foreclosure occurs when a homeowner abandons their property after receiving a foreclosure notice, but before home ownership of the house is transferred. I had a lot of experience with this prior to COVID. For a few years, I worked directly with banks. Was hired by a bank. So when a property goes into foreclosure and the bank eventually gets to it, which could take months, sometimes a year, they would reach out to me and I have to go to the property. I'd have to secure the property. Mind you, I never went alone because you never know what you're walking into. Sometimes it was a little scary. But oftentimes it was empty. And it's been that way for a long time because I'd walk in and holy cow, some of them were, the mold riddled, pipes burst, people break in, all the things. It's been vacant for a long time. Those are zombie foreclosures. And the zombie, what's happening is that, the banks, they put these on the back burner and, oftentimes they don't get to them 6 months, 12 months. And you say, well, how is that possible? It's possible. It is absolutely 100% possible. It says the report looked at publicly recorded real estate data that included foreclosure status, equity, and owner occupancy status and matched it against monthly updated vacancy data. Adams research found that 1 in 14,668 homes in the U.S. has been vacated due to foreclosure. Affordable locales in the Midwest have seen sustained buyer attention as many home shoppers are priced out of higher priced markets. This is Realtor.com senior economic research analyst Hannah Jones. She says the rate of foreclosures is relatively low in these areas as homeowners are in a good position to sell for more than they purchased the home for. And this is the thing that makes me sad because with the and again, it's going to depend on the area, but a lot of areas with all the rise in, I had a family member that went through this, an in-law. Even though they had equity, they still walked away. And a lot of it is embarrassment for going into foreclosure. A lot of it is just stress, kind of just not wanting to deal with it. Just can't handle it. I could walk away. Can't even deal with it. The sad part is they had equity enough to sell it and save themselves from 7 years of marks against their credit for foreclosure and walk away with some money, but they didn't. And that's what contributed. So it can't be, again, it goes back to like the DC and not knowing which of these people either lost their job and which are just selling for the sake of selling. And it's the same thing with foreclosures. Not every foreclosure is irreparable. Not every foreclosure is due to, holy cow, the cost of living there has gotten too much. A lot of them, yes. Not all of them. Not all of them. Okay, so these are the top 5 states with at least 50 zombie foreclosures in the first quarter of this year. So we've got Missouri. Okay, and here's the map. You got Missouri, you got Indiana, you got Kansas, South Carolina, Michigan. So you've got Missouri, our zombie properties are up 85% from 27 to 50. It's still, these numbers, let's be honest, guys, it's 50. There's 50. It's not 500. It's not 50%. It's 50. It says Perspective. Realtor.com found that there are 43,000 and change homes for sale right now in Missouri. 50. That's all we're talking. So this is up, headlines sell, but it's 50. So it's not, not a huge part of the market. Michigan, zombie properties are up 51% to 83. South Carolina, they're up 31% from 74 to 97. And they have, 54,000 and change homes on the market, 97 of them. I wish they put a percentage here, actually, do that math. What's probably 0.001% or something. Indiana, zombie properties are up 28%. That's a more significant number, 276 out of 43,000 and change. And then Kansas, zombie properties are up 26% from 69 to 87. It goes on to say the zombie homes in pre-foreclosure rise. The number of zombie or vacant homes that are in pre-foreclosure and significantly high in several popular metros. And then it goes on, we've got, it found that Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Florida, the area has 747 vacant properties in the first quarter alone. And then this is interesting. This is tied with the New York, New Jersey, Newark, Jersey City area. And then coming in next is Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, Illinois, and then Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Florida, and then Cleveland, El Raya. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, in Ohio. So it's something to watch. I think that, a little side note on buying those types of homes, if you are thinking about, taking advantage of that from a perspective of an investor, or if you just want to get your foot in the door on a property period, and you're like, what the heck am I going to buy? What the heck, this could be an opportunity to get something, at a lower price. Speaking from experience, again, I've been in that world, spent several years in that world, and quite honestly got burned out on it because the banks are impossible. They're brutal. They are not discounting those properties. And it has nothing, and I'm going to say this again, it has nothing. They price it, has absolutely no relation to what they owe on the note. I can't tell you how many people called and said, this property has an outstanding mortgage of $200,000, and they're expecting to pay a little over $200,000. The market value says $350,000. Guess what it was priced at? $350,000. They do not care. The bank does not care what the note is. They want to clear the note, but they can't sell it for anything more than what the market value is, but they're not selling it for anything less than the market value either. And the thing that always concerned me about these properties, one of the reasons why I got out of it, it was from a moral perspective. You don't know what you're buying. These people, if these zombie properties have been vacant for a long period of time, you can do an inspection. They don't allow inspection periods. You got to buy it and that's it, and you could go through, but there's going to be things you cannot see. You cannot see everything, every facet of that property. And so you've got to go in there expecting that all the plumbing needs to be replaced, all the electrical, all the insulation, all the things. You've got to think worst case scenario, because you never know. Did they pour something down the toilet? And now the septic is compromised, but it doesn't appear compromised right now. It might be down the road, or you have plumbing that maybe the plumbing system requires, because it has a lot of minerals in the water, and it absolutely needs a filtration system or it'll eat through the pipes. That's the way the land that I'm on in Plymouth was a lot of farmland. There's a high nitrate count. There's a high, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it. It'll come to me. But when we moved into this house, we started getting little pinhole leaks, and we realized we needed a filtration system. We put the filtration system in. Knock on wood, haven't had any issues, 25 years. If you're looking at a foreclosure property that is in that situation and hasn't had a filtration system, the plumbing may not be leaking now, but what happens if it starts in 2 months after you buy the property? Just a word of caution. If it seems too good to be true, it usually is. Let's see here. Natalia says, you have great videos on DIY house projects and painting. Well, thank you. Thank you. I know I've got to start recording some of the stuff that I do around my own house, because I do a ton. If I can figure it out and I'm capable of doing it my own, I will do it. Just like I replaced the lights on my overhead, posted on the community post that those stupid light bulbs, the flat ones that are in your range hood, one burned out and I couldn't get it out. And then the glass broke because I was trying too hard. And so I had to drop the whole thing down. And I'm so glad I did, because I found out that one of the stems had been broken because I tried too hard to take it out, but it was also blackened and burned. So I got the little replacement thing, took it apart, used, oh gosh, what are those clips called? I think they're called Waco clips. I'm going to Google it right now. I think it's called the Waco clips. They are, when you're looking to splice two wires together, I love those things. I'm going to look. I can't. Wago. WAGO. Wire connectors. They make life so much easier. I like to do that kind of stuff. Katie, when the grass doesn't match the season, it says to me that the house has been on the market for a long time. Danger. Why hasn't it sold? Or when there's Christmas decorations in the living room and it's February. It's February. Yeah, red flag. It's okay to list the house in December. And you know what? Sometimes properties don't sell because maybe the market shifts and you couldn't stay ahead of the market. And maybe it's just the market that you're in that it takes a little longer to sell. The market here is taking, on average, a little bit longer to sell. The only way to beat that is to go under the market, which is what I did with my clients this weekend. But if that house isn't sold and it's January 1st, I'm back out there doing pictures again. Plain and simple, because you're 100% right. That's when the agent doesn't want to have to pay for more pictures. Shame on them. One would think the bank would not want to pay carrying costs and get it sold. You would think. Sinister Spatula, that is one of those things that, common sense is not so common. Why it would sit on the books? Why? Because it's all about bureaucracy. It's all it is. And literally, when you're dealing with the bank, you're not dealing with a person. I'm not talking about a computer. I'm talking about an order taker that has a checklist. They get the checklist and they're like, next. And if you're put at the bottom of the pile, or you're on the desk of a person that maybe is doing things out of order or whatever, or maybe they're just overwhelmed or whatever, you would think that they would want to price it. I have seen them. I have gone toe to toe with them and said, you got to lower the price, and they won't. Why? Because They have a system. We got to price it this. We got to wait exactly this number of days before we price it by X percentage lower and all the things. And the market doesn't work that way. I do not have love for the banking system. David says zombie foreclosures were expanded. Well, thank you very much. Excellent, excellent. It's a very interesting thing. When I first saw it, I was, several years ago. What the heck is this? Polly, good to see you. Regular. I love my north of Muncie, Indiana. I love my north of Muncie, Indiana farmhouse. It saddens me that this state doesn't do more to help people stay in their homes. I know it's, you know what? There's just, nobody's got money. A lot of it is mismanaged. And we're kind of seeing that now. We got some growing pains ahead of us in the next several years. I still don't agree with the hatchet method. I would much rather see a scalpel method with weeding out some of this, wasted money. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard, with the cost of taxes. I think the thing that we need to remember too is that when you have a state, I'll give you an example. So in Plymouth, where I'm at, we had a nuclear power plant. Technically, is still there. Several years ago, 5 years ago, they started the decommissioning process, and it was sold. Was when it went offline, the biggest concern was once the company left, we're going to lose all that tax revenue. How are they going to make up for it? And did the taxes go through the roof? No, but our taxes have absolutely been increasing. Not because necessarily somebody is sitting at a desk saying, "Oh, let's just Scrooge, let's just jack up everybody's prices, taxes." Well, of course not. Do we have tax officials that probably make a little bit more money, or town managers that probably make a little bit more money than they probably should be making? Probably yes. But a town, when it comes to that kind of thing, there's a lot of nuclear power plants that have been decommissioned across the country. That's a lot of money lost to a tax database. And that's just one example. You have these, mom and pop shops that were, contributing to the tax base, and then they get out of business, gone, not contributing to the tax base anymore. When you have that type of situation, they're replaced with a Walmart. Now, I'm not a commercial expert, but if you have 4, 5, 10 mom and pop shops that are all paying taxes, now you have a Walmart, and Walmart's going to get a deal because they're so big. So now they're not contributing as much, potentially, right? So where's the money go? How, it comes down to us. And I'm not making excuses for them. I am not going to make excuses for them, but it makes it very hard. So I feel for you. And Polly, I hope you can stay there as long as you can, because that sounds very, very lovely to be in a Muncie, Indiana farmhouse. So hang in there, my friend. Hey, Kevin. Kevin's a friend of mine. Hi, Jen. Thanks for thanks for all the great advice. You did a great job advocating for people and separating facts from fiction. I appreciate that. That's the goal. I'll speak my mind. And, the wonderful thing about, getting in your 50s, you just speak unfiltered. And I'm just telling you the way it is. Give me just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Thank you guys all for jumping in the chat. I appreciate you all being here. Bottom line with this ridiculousness on this viral post, obviously, don't believe what you see. And fact check. Fact check everybody. Fact check me. I told you where to go. I didn't tell you where to go like that way. But if you hear something on the internet, you see something, on the old YouTubes, the information is there. All the information that I get for these live streams, I research. I researched, each live stream every week. I honestly spend a couple hours researching to make sure I can get you guys the behind the scenes, behind the headlines data, so you can understand it. But this is all information available to you as well. And so don't succumb to what you see because it's sensationalism, because 4 or 5 people might be saying the same thing. And it's like on the reels and the TikTok and all the things. And I can't believe I just said that. I sound so old, the TikTok. My kids will be rolling their eyes right now, but that's neither here nor there. But do your homework. Don't take things for face value. Doesn't necessarily mean it's entirely not true, but sensationalism does sell, and the big thing is does the headline match the article? The headline should be compelling, but the article needs to be factual and not a whole bunch of crazy stuff that gets you all nuts so you can't sleep at night. So that's my 2 cents. But I do appreciate you guys all being here. And, if you guys need, Natalia, if you need an agent referral, if you want me to connect you to somebody in your area for you to interview while you're trying to figure out your where you're going to go to. Yes. Sinister Dispatcher says, yep, it's attention grabbing. Be skeptical. 100%. That's why when I put a headline on one of my videos, try to, back up that information right out of the gate. So that I'm not going to say, it's awful, awful, awful. But wait, it's so good now. No, maybe some of it's awful. Maybe some of it's not. But if you need an agent, there's a link in the description. I always advocate interview at least 3 agents, buyer or seller agents. Do your homework. I want you guys to advocate for yourself. And I appreciate you stopping by and sharing some of your very precious time listening to me babble. And if you are watching this on the replay, drop your questions in the comments. If I don't get back to you right away, don't panic. I'm not ignoring you. The last couple weeks have been very busy with our market starting to pick up with the spring market. So I'm a little bit behind on answering questions and things like that. But I haven't forgotten about you, and I will get to you eventually. So drop your comments in, and I'm happy to hear from you. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe. Be kind. Seek to understand. Practice empathy. All the things. We'll see you next Tuesday. Same bat time. Same bat channel. Be good. Stay safe. See ya.